It Happened on the Job, the podcast for relatable conversations with contractors. Sponsored by Goodman Insurance.
Welcome to It Happened on the Job, episode 100. 100. If I had little poppers, we'd pop it.
I don't think you knew that.
Yeah, I know. I wanted to surprise him. I wanted to see his actual reaction. Could you see the enthusiasm in his eyes when we said that?
It's like walking through Disneyland and they give you a free Mickey Mouse watch.
Yeah.
You could walk through Disneyland.
Yeah, right. You can't anymore.
I feel more special now.
Yeah, this is big time, man. You were hand selected for number 100.
I can't think of a better moment in my life.
If you want to take a little time to give a speech, I'm just kidding.
How it makes you feel.
We should probably introduce you a little bit first. Josh Sutton out of Dallas, Texas with Elite Roofing and Restoration. How you doing, sir?
Doing fantastic. And I appreciate the opportunity to chat with you, gentlemen. And especially even more so now that knowing that it's episode 100.
Big deal, man. Big deal, big time. And I'm glad we got somebody with a nice setup too. Like these guys got the good mic over there. I hear he's taking video over there. This is big time for number 100. You're setting the bar for the next 100. Yeah.
Totally planned.
All about elevating the game.
There you go. Perfect. Well, we chatted a little bit, but to give our listeners a little bit of history, kind of let us know what got you into this industry way back in the day or whatever it was, and that road that brought you to where you are now with Elite Roofing.
I was actually a pilot for about 15 years. The global economy brought me back stateside in 2008.
So let's back up. Let's hold for a second because I know Brian's kind of like squirming in his seat
excited.
A little bit. What kind of pilot?
I did a little bit of everything. I flew for the airlines, private, training, overseas, did various contracts overseas as well.
Brian's dad was a fighter jet.
Yeah,
pilot.
my dad flew F-14 Tomcats back in the day. So
Amazing machines.
Oh yeah. He was growing up. Top Gun was the big movie at the time, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I have an affinity for
on my
anything in the air.
sleeves when I was a kid. Yeah.
All right, perfect. So
now that's out of the way. A lot of things.
Got that out of the way. All right, moving on.
With the global economy in 2008, was looking to get out of aviation altogether. And a friend of a friend put me in touch with a gentleman and said, hey, they're looking for salespeople and getting into the roofing business. And I'm like, I did roofing as a kid. I swore I never wanted to do construction ever again in my entire life, let alone as a career. And lo and behold, started working for a father and son. From there, it led to another company. I was there for about 10 years. And we opened the doors here at Elite in September 1 of 2018. And we've been growing ever since. We're still a smaller company, but our niche is high-end insurance restoration for homes in the $1 to $5 million price range.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, $1 to $5 million out in Texas. That's a pretty select. I was going to say that's
here it's a shoebox.
Yeah, I was going to say here you'd be fixing the roofs of some mobile homes, but
yeah, exactly.
that's for those that need the context. Those are big houses as compared to
big nice
Southern
houses,
California. Yeah, that's awesome.
Although $5 million in California is pretty nice too. Yeah. To be fair.
Did you get brought in or asked to come into roofing because you had that roofing experience, or was that just dumb luck?
It's just dumb luck.
Okay.
It was a father and son that were looking. They had an office down in Houston. The son lived up here in Dallas. Wanted to hire some sales guys. Turned out I was the only salesperson they ever hired, and it was like most first roofing sales jobs. You get some momentum. You sell some projects. Bad things happen with the commissions on the back end. You start kind of having some wandering eyes looking for another opportunity. And a girlfriend of mine introduced me to her stepdad, who was just killing it in roofing. And him and I were talking over the course of a few months, and we had a big storm hit, and he called me up and said, you need to come work for us. And I was with them for better part of 10 years.
It was basically just in sales as well.
So, yep, just straight up sales.
Yeah.
Sales, project management, kind of learn all the insurance in and out, building my network. And still to this day, 98% of my business is referral.
Through what? So what's the breakdown? I would imagine the referral part is probably just through private parties, right? How much of your work is insurance versus, private work?
99% of what we do is insurance related. Very, very few do we have any type of retail sales. If it's a retail sale, it's more of just a repair, something small. It's a one-off. But no, the bulk of what we do is just all insurance restoration, roof replacements, gutters, and things of that nature.
So from a sales side, are you selling your business to the adjusters and kind of shaking hands with them, or are you actually, I guess, how does that process work? From how do you guys get introduced, or what's your sales cycle?
It's mainly brought in through insurance agents. Okay. There's a few realtors out there. Seems to be within one of the most competitive marketplaces here in the entire U.S. of Dallas-Fort Worth. Leads are generally brought in through online marketing to realtors to insurance agents. We've got our niche of insurance agents that have trusted me for over 13 years now. And that network has grown over the last few years as well. And it usually starts with a client of theirs calling up the agent saying, hey, somebody knocked on my door, told me I have a problem, to, hey, we just had a storm. The agent says, let's make sure that the damages are bona fide. You're not opening up a bad claim. And they call me up or email me their contact information. I take it over from there. It's just a really nice process the way we've got it set up right now.
Yeah. Sounds like pretty, what do I want to say? Job security, right? Like maintaining those relationships. And
yeah, absolutely. The one thing that I swore I was never going to do in this business, because I did it one time, and that was chase a storm. I went up to Oklahoma and I hated life. I do not like knocking on doors of perfect strangers, trying to pitch them and making them feel like they're trapped in their home. That works for a lot of people. That's great. I just wanted to go out a different way, and that was to build a relationship, build a network, build my name out there, and stay in kind of one area. I don't want to have to bebop around the country and trying to generate sales. And again, nothing wrong with that. It just doesn't work for me.
Mm-hmm.
What gave you the impetus to, leave? I think you said it was your girlfriend's stepdad's company, or her dad. What gave you the impetus to leave that and start something on your own?
It was more of personal issues after 10 years. Yeah. And also wanting to expand. They kind of had their focus of composition roofs and gutters. That's really what they want to focus on. And they're good at that. But I wanted to get into more specialty, more high-end, a lot larger projects, more complexity, newer challenges.
Yeah, just challenge yourself. That's what I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, and they just really did not want me doing that by and large. And I took out my number one referral source to lunch saying, hey, I'm thinking of going out to do this on my own. Is that going to cause us any problem? She started laughing and is like, thank the Lord you're doing it on your own. And I'm like, so this is not going to, she's like, no, I'm so happy for you. That's wonderful. I'm here to support you. And I'm not kidding you. 2 hours later, I get a phone call from another gentleman saying, hey, I hear you're going out on your own. We need to talk. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. I haven't even told you. But there's 3 people that know this right now. And from that point, we got together, and this company was already established, and they brought me in to run basically all the insurance side of it. And so I answered to a board of directors. We have investors, and I run everything day to day. So it was going to start out with just being me as a sole proprietor, but now I answer to larger people. So it just made sense to do a partnership.
So they brought you in, they were already doing work, but just not in the insurance space, and kind of found that
Correct.
opportunity.
They had another gentleman that was doing more commercial fire and water restoration. He was looking at large loss, maybe more across the country. When they brought me in, that was not what I wanted to do or ever be involved in. So I basically took Elite instead of Elite Restoration, then I formed Elite Roofing and Restoration Services. And what we do is more residential with some commercial. And the other gentleman has since left and gone on to greener pastures. And so the company's kind of morphed into what I've turned it into at this point.
That's a pretty cool way to step into a business, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, already not really having to build all that infrastructure, and that back office stuff seems like a lot of that was already there.
Yes, and obviously they came in with a chunk of their own capital, where my initial outlay wasn't going to have to be nearly as big as what I was planning on it, and it just made a whole lot of sense. Some of the investors come in with their own skill sets, and we've got professional accounting, which seems to be the number one issue with a lot of one-man operators in roofing and construction.
Well, yeah, probably anything.
They just can't manage their finances.
Yeah, anything in the office. I mean, obviously, finances is the biggest picture and the biggest ticket from an exposure standpoint and vulnerability standpoint. But I'd have to kind of extend that out to anything in the office, right? I mean, from HR management or any of that kind of stuff. I mean, all that kind of goes by the wayside when you're a one-man show.
Yep,
absolutely, and it takes away from the ultimate goal, and that's to increase revenue, drive profits, increase your brand, and obviously increase sales. So it's allowed me to focus more of my energy where it needs to be.
So what's your role now on a day-to-day basis?
Day-to-day, it's driving revenue, bringing in deals. I've hired a business development manager in the last couple of months to help take some of that off of my plate so I can get back to the 30,000-foot view. Managing day-to-day operations, building out our teams to where we have the processes that have at least treated me well, trying to scale that with new members of our team. And we are still a small company. We don't have 50 sales guys. It's but for what we operate with right now, some of the more comparable companies around DFW probably take 5 to 6 sales guys, which we do with one.
Wow. How many guys do you have on the field?
Two. Me and one other guy.
You're on the roof out there in the field?
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. I love this business, and my truck is my office. So it's I love getting around, developing the new relationships for our referral partners, but I still like to be out there in the trenches with the adjusters, meeting with homeowners. Again, I just love it. So
wow, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's cool.
So how did you find the guy that you're working with out in the field?
Actually, he was an adjuster for Chubb, and we've known each other for a few years. And I sent out a mass email to a bunch of people saying, hey, I'm looking to hire for this position. If you know anybody, please forward this information on. And literally within 5 minutes of that email, I got a notification that he had applied for the job. And I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't send that to you to apply. And so I called him up and I'm like, did you mean to do this?
Yeah, I think
and
you filled this out wrong.
No, yeah. I'm like, I'm a little confused. And I go, why would you want to leave Chubb and come work over here? And I was actually resisting it for a while, and had a discussion with our board and said, this is where we're at with hiring for this position. And everybody was for it except me. And then, him and I had a couple of heart-to-heart conversations, and it's made sense, and it's a fantastic addition to our team. It's not what I was expecting, but it's just worked out better than what I was originally planning.
So are you guys, and forgive me, maybe I'm not, are you guys actually doing the repairs, you and this other guy? Or are you guys subbing a lot of that?
No, we sub everything out.
Okay, so you're up there doing the estimating and all that kind of stuff and working with you. That's what I was going to say. I was like, man, you and one of the guys fixing this many roofs? Like, that's insane. Okay, so that makes a lot more sense now. I've got a little bit better picture. That makes sense. So,
go ahead.
No, go. Yeah, these work better when you talk.
No, it's we're not out there just giving estimates for everybody. A majority of our focus of attention is getting out there, making sure that homeowners do in fact have bona fide storm damage and an insurance claim is warranted. Texas is the Old West when it comes to insurance claims, because there's very, very few limitations put on people getting into this business within the state of Texas. Anybody can put a magnet on their vehicle, a ladder in their trunk, and go out there and say, hey, I'm in the roofing business. No problem. So we just want to make sure that instead of the way that a lot of those companies operate, which is just tell everybody to open a claim and hopefully one will stick, we take the time to make sure that, one, we're an extension there of our referral partner, so that what we say is we can actually back it up with evidence.
Right.
So that way they know that they're moving into a right direction when they move forward with the claims process.
So on that, what does that process look like, finding somebody to do the work? Or is that something you're involved in, or is that something the insurance?
Oh yeah, no. We take care of everything. We try to turnkey the whole claim.
Perfect.
Whether it's specialty roof, gutters, painting, windows, fence repairs, garage doors. We try to turnkey 100% of the claim. Now, there are some of the homes that we get into in the upper $5 to $7 million range where they have some very delicate repairs that literally specialists have to be brought in on that. Right. That's fine. That I don't want to be a part of that anyway. But and a perfect example of that is we had a tornado that came through some very expensive parts of Dallas about a year ago.
Yep.
And one of the homes we were working on is a custom $5 million home. The client had barely been in there 6 months, but they had these delicate, ornate, custom-made chandeliers from, I believe, Paraguay. And they bring in people from the museum to clean them and hand. I don't know anything about custom chandeliers like that. So those types of one-offs, we turn towards the specialists on that when it comes to something extravagant. But for pretty much anything else, we can turnkey it. And then that way we're the point of contact for not only the homeowner and the client, but for the agent from start to finish.
Yeah. Is that standard practice out there in terms of, I say out there, but in terms of other roofing restoration services companies to do that turnkey service that you guys are offering? Or is that just one other thing that you have added on to your
tool belt?
Yeah.
I feel more comfortable trying to turnkey the claim because if there are other parties involved for things that we normally do, anyway, I don't know anything about them. I can't back it up, and makes it very challenging for me to warranty work for somebody that I've never worked with.
Right.
It is a growing portion of the Dallas-Fort Worth insurance restoration market that more and more companies are trying to do that because, hey, at the end of the day, it's more money, it's more revenue, potentially more profit. So,
but it's also an added service, I would say, an added valuable service that you guys are offering where the homeowner doesn't have to get involved in that whole process of dealing with an adjuster and the claim and all that.
Yeah. And if they're trying to then segue certain repairs to multiple companies, that process can be extremely frustrating for the homeowner. And we know that. And when I opened up the doors here, I came up with 3 words of trying to instantly relay what we're doing, and that is to change the narrative. We don't just want to be a storm chasing roofing company here today, gone tomorrow. Your warranty is only as good as long as you see our tail lights. It's no, we are here. We've got these relationships. That's why we've had these relationships for 13 years plus, is because we've been there, we've done it, we've backed it up. We don't disappear when there's problems. So yeah, the value add for us, of course, high-end insurance restoration. If you live in a $1 to $5 million home here in the Dallas-Fort Worth market, we're the company for you. And we try to turnkey everything. That way, it's less frustration. Yeah. And we can try to limit our footprint of time in the overall project by doing that as well.
Yeah.
So I have to imagine a big piece of being able to manage all that and maintain is the relationship with the subs that you guys have working and doing a lot of the work for you, right? What is that process like for you as far as that I guess interview, lack of a better term, interview process, or making sure that these are guys that are going to maintain the quality and everything that you expect and that you want to portray?
Everybody that does work for our company, it's not somebody we're trying out. For example, some of the painters that do work for us, I've worked with them for over 10 years. The crews that we have that do all of our roof installation, it's the best I've ever had in this industry. And I've worked with them for years now. You can go there and they can tell you exactly how they're going to build it, and then they do it. Perfect real world example right now is we just finished a project where the homeowner, he was retired, pilot from Delta.
There you go.
But he's just one of those guys. He likes to know what's going on, and he kind of likes to over-engineer things and get into all the gritty details. He got up on the roof a couple of times, which, therein lies another conversation.
Probably not something that your insurance guy wants to know. Yeah, moving on.
Exactly. You guys are in that. You don't want to hear that. And it gives me heartburn seeing that. But he flat out came up to me after the project was over, and he said, every time I was about ready to tell your crew something, they were already doing it, or they were already 2 steps past that. Again, it's just we've been very fortunate, and I've been blessed in this business by working with the best. And I know if I was to sleep good at night, I would not want to just simply try people out on certain projects. It would be too stressful.
Well, especially on those. Yeah, especially on those homes. You don't want to be like, hey, Jim, just bet you. I'll let you come over here and work on this guy. You're talking about 1 to 5 million high-end, ultra high-end properties that you don't want just some schmuck that's jumping up on the roof. And, I get it. It makes sense.
Yeah, it's in a lot of these homes in that price range, we're dealing with some, how can I put it, some very sensitive personalities too.
Yep.
Very particular personalities. And that's fine. I love it. Because we believe in being completely transparent in our communication throughout the entire project. And we do that through, photos and video as well. So if I can get up on the roof and show our homeowner exactly what we're doing and kind of give them real-time updates, we'll do that. And by and large, a lot of our clients, they travel to a second or a third home that they have in another state while we're working on their home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We give them those updates via video. And that way they're just a little more relaxed when they're away from their home while we're working on it.
It's very extreme home makeover. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like they send the family off and then you got Ty with the video going,
you guys move the bus for them when they come back. Yeah. What was business like the last 6 or 8 months during the COVID and that social experiment that has been going on?
It's been up and down. We slowed down initially. People were, I don't want anybody near my home. And we had we kind of had a backlog of projects that we were about ready to start from the spring. And then we had the absolute opposite end of the spectrum where I don't care. You guys can come out. Not a problem. We had to put a few projects on hold because the day before we were about to start on roofs, hey, my son got tested. He's with us. He came back positive. No problem. Let us know when we can come back.
Yeah.
The more systemic issue that we've had has been delays in material. That's really been about it. Volume went down a little bit. That was to be expected. But by and large, we've been moving right along.
Is the material because there's a downturn maybe in production initially, and so they weren't producing as much, or was it because just the pandemic itself? What were some of those contributing factors?
From what was relayed to me from a couple of our reps was that the manufacturing process slowed down or was turned off, and they just haven't been able to ramp up into full production mode.
Yeah.
So what I don't even remember exactly one manufacturer, but one of the distributors had said that they were doing about 3 trucks a month, where before they were doing 28. So we're supposed to start a project here in a couple of days, and it's taken about 5 days just to get in the shingles. But again, it's hit and miss. It depends on what the client orders and whether the distributors have it in stock or not. And if it's not, then either the clients are willing to wait or we go with something else that's more readily available.
Right.
Yeah. But outside of that, we just work around it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is it, so, I mean, and forgive my ignorance or lack of knowledge, especially out there. We're coming from, very democratic, liberal country over here where, we basically can't do much without a mask and safety precautions. And I'm jealously watching the World Series out there and seeing the Cowboys and seeing that people are actually able to, at least it seems like there is a semblance of normalcy in some capacity there, at least from what I see on TV. So that being said, in terms of day to day being out on the job, are there those requirements? Like out here, for instance, guys have to they got to get temperature checked, and then they got to put gloves and, goggles and a lot of that stuff they already had, right? I think, PPE overall, personal protective equipment was obviously in the construction field is pretty normal, but to the everyday layperson, not so much. But is that something that's required out there for you guys when you're going out on a job site, or is it more kind of laissez-faire, more relaxed out in Texas?
It's more relaxed, especially on the residential side. Where the masks really come into play is more if the crew needs to go to the gas station or a grocery store or something like that. then they'll be required to wear a mask. But when it's 130 degrees up on the roof, you cannot be wearing a mask. It's just not doable. We'll have porta potties more on residential jobs now than we ever had before.
Yeah.
Again, just because if a lot of the local gas stations and 7-Elevens and Quick Trips and stuff,
all shut down.
Bathrooms, they're clogged up. Too many people are there. So we just need to find a better way of making our crews a little more comfortable when they're working. But for the most part, masks are only required when you're going into a business. So walking around town, things like that, you generally don't need.
Yeah, see, you mentioned Quick Trip, and for those of you who don't know what Quick Trip is, it's the holy mecca of gas stations.
I feel like I've seen it spelled QUIKTRIP.
Yeah.
Is that right?
QT.
It is my second home. Yeah.
I love that place. My wife didn't understand why I could love a convenience store and gas station so much, but I swear she was changed. She was a changed woman when I took her into one. Closest one we have out here is like Arizona. There's a few, but
That's where I've seen them. Yeah.
but
They're on every corner around here. And,
that's the one thing
there's
I
a lot
miss.
of business that gets done at Quick Trips.
I lived in Texas for 6 years in a suburb of Fort Worth. That's probably the one thing I miss the most. Is QT. You don't understand. If you don't know, you don't know, man. You're missing out. I gotta say. So
That's awesome.
outside of the COVID stuff, what are some of the other challenges that you face on a daily basis that you kind of have to work through and get over?
A lot of the challenges here in this in this market is obviously the competition. And obviously I get that you're going to have competition everywhere, but Dallas-Fort Worth being, I believe, the #1 marketplace for insurance, restoration, roofing contractors, it's always trying to elevate your game. I mean, every day I wake up, how can we do something a little bit better than yesterday? How can we make sure that we're known for being the leaders of this business for specialty roofing and insurance restoration? So it's my largest issue on day to day. Outside of that, it's just making sure that we do everything right. I want everything done right. And if that costs us more money, I don't care.
So kind of on that, I mean, and something that we've started talking to people about more recently, in my opinion, a way to do that, or maybe you are doing it already, is social media, right? Like showing what you do, how you do it, being 100% transparent and visible and out there for people to see and relate to. Is that something that you guys are being deliberate about doing, or how are you guys getting that messaging out?
Absolutely. I've got a marketing company. They come out to us on some of the job sites. We do a walkthrough. I'll have 3 or 4 guys with filming the whole experience. And then, of course, our marketing company here will chop that up and turn it all into little informational bits, and they'll put it out mainly on Facebook, Instagram. But that's been a big portion of us trying to build that trust and that transparency is, hey, this is what we're doing on this job. This is what somebody could be doing and not telling you. And this is how we're going to make it better than the way that we found it. We have 4 core values, and our first one is impact. I'm not going to take a project on unless I know that we can make it better than the way that we found it. So and by doing that and filming it and making it relatable to a lot of clients, it's starting to pay off. Obviously, that type of marketing doesn't happen overnight with somebody immediately calling you or emailing you going, I love you guys. But we have had some recent experiences over this last summer, even where some people have found our videos on Facebook, and their home wasn't in the $1 to $5 million range, but they were a referral, and our marketing was working pretty much like we had planned.
Right.
We hope that people that don't live in $1 million home aspire to have a company like ours, or will take our information and use that to find a contractor that they're comfortable with and that they trust, but knowing that, hey, some of that information that we shared may have helped them do that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess the question is, are you seeing an impact? I know you said you've gotten a couple of phone calls, but have you seen a change in what people are expecting of you, or how they're portraying you guys in the marketplace?
The one thing that has been, I guess, consistent over the last, and we've been doing this now for almost a year. So I'd say since March, since about the beginning of COVID through today, people are definitely more trusting. And by more trusting, I mean, it's being relayed to us that saying, I already know who you guys are, and you guys are the ones that we want.
Yeah.
That's
literally on the first appointment that we meet with them.
Well, and even if they don't know who you are, all that content that you have out there, if they look for you, at least they can find a lot, and it almost gives them those warm and fuzzies before you even start, or, right, even if they don't know who you are, that, there are other people that trust you. You've put out all this other stuff, and they can see what you've done and how you do it.
Well, it's
Absolutely.
It's front loading that work, right?
Yeah.
You're not having to actually have
Sell
to recreate the
yourself
wheel
or-
every
yeah.
time. They're already being able to see. It's a resume of sorts,
Yeah.
but they're able to see that. And I think kind of talking to what you were mentioning before about waking up every day and trying to figure out how can I be better? How can I be stronger? How can I drive that profit and that revenue? I think that, and from Mike and I's perspective, at least on the insurance side, we're always, if we're working with clients out here, we're always looking for information on the client, right? And it's so aggravating sometimes when they don't have a website, and I can imagine even more so if you're the homeowner, and you have no visibility in, and so by the time you show up to the door, you're having to kind of almost defend yourself before you, as opposed to you're getting there, and they've already have a wealth of knowledge about you. They've seen what you guys are able to do, and then all you're really doing at that point is just confirming.
Yeah, performing.
Exactly.
Was there something, because this is new for contractors, right? That headspace, that mindset is something new for contractors across the board, but even more so, recently. But was there something that pushed you into doing that specifically? Was it need? Was it an idea? Somebody else? Like what pushed you into doing it the way you guys are doing it now?
A few years ago, I wanted to always mess with technology and kind of marry technology with what we're doing. And, drones really kind of started coming around, and wow, we could make some really neat videos with this and show people of us working on a roof and seeing the big mess that we create. And it kind of morphed into people standing behind, with their phones out. And then I've always had a coach in some fashion, whether it's sales or business related, over the last 10 years. And one of the coaches got me into using what's called co-video. Anytime you have an interaction with somebody, send them a video. Send it before, send it after you meet with them. Always doing something with that. So when we started Elite and I came across with Billy, who handles a lot of our marketing, it turned into the perfect storm. So we have some very professional marketing pieces with some really valuable content that we push out to hopefully, garner more business, but to help educate and be more of a consumer advocate out there. Because as I'd mentioned at the beginning, Texas is the old West. Yeah. Anybody can get into this business. Anybody can say that they're a roofer, and they do not know the pitfalls. The homeowners, by and large, they can probably be a little too trusting.
Well, they just don't know what they don't know, right? Yeah. Like you can't, it's like our clients, right? I mean, we can't expect them to understand all 85 pages of their general liability policy, right? So we're constantly trying to help educate them to understand, like, hey, this is why ours might be 30% higher in cost because it's missing, it's has all these gaps it's filling that this policy doesn't. So I would imagine kind of along those same lines, what you're doing in educating the homeowners may not be for your benefit directly from a monetary standpoint, but you're almost making the whole industry better by kind of weeding out some of those guys maybe that aren't doing it for the right reasons or aren't out there.
Absolutely. No, anything that we can do to put a homeowner or a client in a better position, we'll do that. And we explain why.
Yep.
We explain why. We don't talk bad about other people. I'm not talking about doing things in that fashion, but what currently exists to where it needs to get to, and why we do certain things and how we get there, and the little details and why those details matter, and why when we put on that $300,000 roof on your $5 million home, why it's going to perform in a certain way to make sure that you have longevity with that property. Yeah, absolutely. But in some of this content that we push out, it's to illustrate, hey, there are a lot of corners that can easily get cut in this business, and this is how they get cut.
Yeah. And when it's your roof, you don't want them cut.
Exactly. The second largest component of your home. I mean, it's you don't really need to have the corners cut, and it is so easy to cut those corners. And that's by and large why we have so much of the marketing put out there.
So educate us a little bit. I mean, in California, there's a contractor state license board that you have to take a test and pass and get a contractor's license. So when you say that anybody can start roofing, is that just specific to roofing, or is that any contracting at all, or any sort of construction?
Electrical, plumbing, you'll all have to have licenses here in Texas. But as far as roofing goes, there's no licensing requirements.
That's crazy.
No kidding.
None.
That's wild.
No, the only thing that's really happened of any type of benefit for contractors as well as homeowners was September of last year, they passed House Bill 2102. 2102 is more in the line of roofing and insurance restoration and paying deductibles, making sure that we don't create insurance fraud. That's helped a little bit, but anybody can come to Texas, open up a DBA, get a bank account going, get a yard sign, get a business card. They're in the roofing business.
Wow.
There's no...
That's wild.
The old adage in Texas is any good roofing legislation goes to Austin to die. So it's I know I've ruffled a few feathers over the years when I've suggested a couple of things that they implement in the state of Texas. And I'm not advocating for large government or anything like that, and I'm not trying to make a political statement by any stretch, but if there was some sort of state of Texas licensing for roofing contractors, I think if you did two things and two things only, a background check and a credit check, you would flush out a lot of the bad apples in this business. But if you go to Louisiana and all the other Gulf states, they have licensing requirements. Texas does not. Why
That's
that is
wild.
specifically, I can hypothesize and give you, that could be another episode, but
right.
Well, I'm trying, internally in my head, I'm trying to kind of fathom that and trying to see, in one way it could be a really, really good thing for you, right? Because you have so much marketing, you have so many different pieces that are pushing towards education, and you're able to very easily differentiate yourself from everybody else. But at the same time, it sounds like it's just flooded and saturated, especially, no pun intended, but especially with Dallas being what you said, I think the largest market, at least in Texas, for
in the entire United States,
for insurance-related roofing. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, roofing contractors are more than a dime a dozen around here.
Dang, man.
They're everywhere. One guy can go out there and sell a few roofs a year, and he makes a decent living.
Yeah.
That's realistically at the end of the day. One guy in a truck, and he can go out there and make $50,000-$100,000 a year, no problem.
Yeah.
But if they don't know what they're doing and then they start creating more problems than they're fixing, that's when I start having problems with a lot of them out there. And that's by and large a majority of what they are. They don't know what they're doing.
Creates a
they
bad
don't know
taste
or they don't care.
And it creates a bad taste and a bad image
Really
on
bad
you,
taste.
right? Or
Yeah.
not necessarily you, but the industry, right? So you're already coming in without, if you're not doing all that stuff you're doing from a marketing standpoint, you're coming in one step behind in the sense that, the homeowner either has dealt with or knows somebody who's dealt with one of those other guys that maybe didn't do it the right way.
Yep.
Yeah. And I see it all the time.
Oh, I'm sure.
All the time. And literally, we'll be working on a house and the neighbor across the street will start to have their roof done. And you're like, wow, okay. Wow.
I'm literally right here, guys.
It's okay. Hey, that's what they want. Hey, it's their home. They can do whatever they want. It's their claim. But when it comes to doing things the right way, it's either we're going to do it right or we're not. And because there are 6,000 other roofing contractors here in DFW that are probably more than happy to do it however you want it.
Yeah.
They could care less.
Wow.
So
that's crazy, man.
It's I believe Dallas-Fort Worth is the most competitive market in the entire United States for roofing and insurance restoration. I believe there's literally 6,000 roofing contractors.
Did you know that when you started the business?
Well, 13 years ago, it wasn't that crowded, but yeah, it's the competition has just gotten more and more fierce, and that's fine.
Well, I feel like there's a lot of developments, especially from what I'm understanding, some friends that have moved out there recently, new developments. And so there's more people, an influx of people, and they're probably saying, hey, look, all I have to do is get a ladder and a truck and a magnet, stick it on the side of my truck. I'm good,
Yeah. And there are a lot of those out there,
man,
still to this day. It's crazy, but hey, when you see some of the business cards that some of these homeowners show me and it still says bob1224@gmail.com, I'm like, You can't even get a real business email.
A real domain.
It's 2020.
$7.99 a year on GoDaddy. Come on, man.
and the business card's got a perforated edge along one side.
Oh yeah.
He printed up
Office
Staples.
Max.
Yeah. Oh, that's crazy, man. So what does the future look like for you guys? What are you sticking with the vertical you're in now? Maybe expansion geographically, or how does the machine grow for you?
We're doing a little bit of both. My approach to this business is different than the majority of the other contractors, where we just need to hire sales guys and grow our business by implementing sales guys. I have a defined niche. I'm building out through that niche, as opposed to just saying, if you're in roofing sales, just come on in and we'll just grow revenue and hit the street like that. I'm doing just the opposite, and it's serving us well. I think, again, we're storm restoration, so every year I have to build 2 sets of goals, one with storms and one without. If we get a couple of decent storms next year, then we'll probably 2.5x revenue for 2021 over 2020 and 2019. The first year we were in business, our expectation from the board of directors was, $1 million in revenue, and we did over $4 million. So it's, and that was basically me and one person. So I think we can definitely get to the $10 to $15 million mark pretty easily in 2021, provided Mother Nature blesses us. Outside of that, our commercial.
I love that. I love that. Everyone else is like, "Oh no, tornado! Oh no,
like, yes!
Oh no, hail! No!" And he's like, "Yeah, bring it on. Let's go."
I don't wish ill will on my friends, and I can't control the weather. I'm just saying, if it causes a problem, we're there to help. So,
right? Yeah. No, it's funny. When I moved out there back in 2010 or 11, the end of 10, that's when I moved back here to California. I moved out there in 2005 or 6. End of 5, early 6. And I remember there were 4 or 5 other families from California that lived in our street. And the first time we heard a tornado siren, about 6 of us jumped out front and on top of our trucks trying to look for it. And
all the texts are like, "Hey, idiot."
All the text people are like, "Hey, dummy, get inside." And I'm like, "Where's it coming? I want to see it." Yeah. I'd have to imagine probably not that stupid, but you're probably the same way. Like, "Hey, all right, let's go."
It's, it was, I live just east of downtown Dallas, and we had just finished a project that Friday, October 18th of last year. And then the night of the 20th, big Cowboys game. So a lot of people were out of Dallas and Arlington area at the stadium, which I think helped in some small measure. And I got a call from a client that we had just finished their roof on that Friday saying, "Hey, my skylights just got sucked off my house." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? We just put those in on Friday." And it's like,
they were pretty secure when
I was home in bed. I had no idea that a tornado had just gone through Dallas. So I came up that night, and large areas of Dallas were dark and blocked off. All you smell was natural gas. And then, first thing the next morning, you see the total carnage. And they're still rebuilding in a lot of areas. But it's just, I don't sit there and watch the Weather Channel all day, but sometimes people have to tell me, "Hey, there's a storm."
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know. I was playing with my son. I didn't quite realize.
Get ready.
But yeah, it's one of the most interesting aspects of this business is that nobody really wants to ever talk to a roofer. And then the day after a storm, everybody wants to talk to you. So it's just the nature of this business, so to speak. Yeah.
Pretty crazy.
But yeah. I'd say if we get a couple of storms next year, that's where we'll do on the residential side. Commercial side, we're growing it. We can do commercial anywhere within the state of Texas. It's just on the residential side, since it's, generally those projects go so fast. We just generally like to stay within
a few counties.
Yeah.
Very cool, man. We appreciate the time.
Yeah,
It's been fun, Josh. Thanks so much.
Thank you, gentlemen. I really appreciate meeting both of you, and thank you for the opportunity to chat with you.
Yeah, before we let you go, we want to let you let the people know where to find you, whether you social media or websites or emails, phone numbers, whatever it is.
Cell phone number, our company number, which you can text, is 214-444-5265. And our web address is eliteteamroofing.com. Elite team, like sports team, roofing.com. And we're happy to take care of anybody that we can help.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Well, thanks again, Josh. It's been great. Stay safe. Keep in touch.
You as well.
We'll see you down the road somewhere.
Sounds great.
All right, man. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye. Hey, thanks for listening. And if you've made it this far, go ahead and give us a like or 5 stars or whatever means you like us.
Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss our next episode. And check out our website for more video content and extras.
While you're there, shoot us a message if you want to be a guest. We'd love to have you on.
Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.